So I'm Jonathan Sadler, professor at Boise State. I'm showing a group of images, and they're all traditional black and white, what people in the biz call silver gelatin prints. And then I solarized them, which is when you re-expose the images while they're in the developer. Depending on how long you wait, you get a different look. So you can get kind of a weird negative positive look. If you wait a little longer, you can get this nice little halo, but it still looks pretty much the way it was shot, except with like interesting, to me anyway, white line around the subject. I've always been kind of interested in solarization, but usually it doesn't really fit. I'm always like I always tell my students, like, why choose that? Why do this? Why do think about everything you do? And just solarizing an image just for the sake of solarizing it doesn't interest me either. But then I saw this dog, and it was just black and shiny, and I thought, oh, that might actually work really well solarized. So I asked the guy if I could take portraits of his dog. Kind of takes me back to the way when I was in undergrad and even in grad school, I just spent all my free time in the darkroom, and I would kind of think of it as, well, I'll just make these images while I think of a more, fancy project or a more conceptual project. And then I end up liking, ends up being my strongest work, in my opinion. I kind of keep going back to, I guess, what my natural way of working, which is kind of driving around and taking pictures and asking people, or like if I can photograph them, or they're just photograph on their property or whatever. I have so much stuff in here. This is actually stuff from our show in Scottsdale at the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art. So this was like the list of things I would take into space. This is just two things. Eggs for chickens and chickens for eggs. Boise's not a giant city, and there's not like a huge gallery district. We have First Thursday, which is awesome, but there's, people have to create events and try to find spaces and be creative about that. And I love the fact that CTA exists, and other artists that I know and like and respect have shown there, like Bill Lewis and Kirsten Furlong. Also, it's like I never show in Boise, so it's nice to show and have people get to see my work who might be curious.